Hey everyone, and a huge welcome to all you 4th grade ELA teachers and curriculum coordinators joining this explainer. Today we're zeroing in on one of the most common and, let's be honest, kind of frustrating challenges in the classroom. We're talking about teaching kids how to spot the difference between an author who backs up their claims with rock-solid evidence and one who's just yelling really loud. You know exactly what I mean, right? Kids are just so easily drawn to the flashiest option. A 4th grader will totally believe a theme park is a top-tier educational experience just because the flyer uses a sparkly neon font. It's an absolutely crucial comprehension skill, and well, we've got a fantastic tool to dig into today that tackles it head-on. I mean, just listen to this pitch straight from the source text. Quote, "Come to Sunnyside. It's the best field trip ever. Everybody loves it. You will have so much fun, you'll never forget it." Okay, when a 9-year-old reads that, their eyes just light up, don't they? They're completely reeled in by that confident hype. But us, as educators, we look at that and immediately see that there is literally zero substance there. Nothing. Not a single checkable fact. So this brings us to the whole core dilemma of the curriculum we're looking at today. Is this actually a good learning trip? Or is it just a bunch of loud hype? We're going to unpack this brilliant little resource designed to train your students to use what's called the Patience Framework. It's basically a crash course in true discernment. We're teaching them to pause, look way past the exclamation points and the all caps, and actually test the text for, structural integrity. Here's our roadmap for the explainer today. First up, mission, evidence over hype. Then we'll walk through the actual 3-day lesson plan. Day 1, judging the pitches. Day 2, the fine print. And Day 3, the recommendation. Finally, we'll wrap things up by looking at the assessment and support tools. All right, let's jump right into part 1, mission, evidence over hype. Now, this mini mission was built from the ground up to tackle this exact evidence versus hype problem. It drops your students straight into a fun, real-world scenario where they get to act as the school's official field trip committee. It's perfectly set up for teams of 3 to 4 students running across 3 45-minute class periods. And honestly, the best part for you, the teacher prep is practically zero. The daily playbooks are totally scripted out, which means you get to just focus on guiding the conversation instead of stressing over the tiny details. The way this daily arc is built makes so much sense, and it builds momentum beautifully. They don't just dive straight into writing, because that would be a disaster, right? Instead, Day 1 starts with evaluating the basic pitches and comparing some competing letters. Then, Day 2 cranks up the difficulty. They really have to read the fine print and start spotting misleading or irrelevant facts. And it all logically leads up to Day 3, where they finally write a formal evidence-based opinion piece to back up what they found. Okay. Moving on to Day 1, judging the pitches. So right off the bat, the student committee gets hit with 3 competing letters. Their immediate job is to contrast the super exciting, totally empty opinions against the kind of boring but highly checkable facts. Take a look at how Sunnyside Fun Park is basically just shouting that everybody loves it. But then compare that to the City Science Museum. They aren't throwing around big flashy claims. Instead, they give you facts, like how they have 40 hands-on exhibits and that last year, classes built bridges that held 20 pounds. It's a night and day contrast between a feeling and an actual fact. And hey, if you're sitting there worrying about how you're going to manage this debate, don't sweat it. The heavy lifting is already done. The teacher answer key you get explicitly breaks down exactly why the Science Museum is the winner here. It points out that the museum gives specific, checkable evidence, like those 40 exhibits or the stat about 9 out of 10 students understanding forces better. Meanwhile, it highlights that Sunnyside only brings strong words to the table, zero proof. The huge takeaway for the kids on Day 1 is that they absolutely must rank these trips by the strength of the evidence, not just how exciting the words are. Now, for the tricky part, let's look at Day 2, the fine print. At this point, Sunnyside Fun Park is getting desperate to win, right? So they send out a follow-up flyer. And this is where students have to run every single news statement through 2 really critical filters. Filter 1, is the claim actually backed by evidence? And filter 2, does it show that this is a good learning trip? This is a massive mental hurdle for them. It's where the light bulb goes on and they realize that a statement can actually be 100% true, but still completely fail to answer the question being asked. Just look at how the answer P handles these new, trickier claims. Take this line from the new flyer. Last year, 200 students visited. Okay, yes, that is a checkable fact. It's backed by evidence. But it completely fails the second filter. I mean, just because 200 students visited doesn't mean a single one of them learned a thing. Visiting is not learning, so it's totally off topic for a school committee. Kids really have to learn to untangle what is relevant from what's just a random true fact. They also run into these super vague authority claims, like scientists agree. Well, wait a minute, which scientists? The ones hired by the roller coaster company? It's honestly a fantastic exercise in real-world critical thinking. This brings us to the grand finale. Day 3, the recommendation. This is crunch time. The committee has to make their decision official by writing a 4 to 6 sentence paragraph to the school principal. Listen to this quick excerpt from the model paragraph provided in the kit. Our committee recommends the city's science museum. It is the best learning trip because it backs up its promises with real evidence. That right there shows you just how rigorous the expectations are for these fourth graders. The curriculum demands they use at least 2 specific pieces of text evidence, and they even have to explain why they threw out the flashiest option. They can't just say, "We like the museum." They essentially have to legally prove their case using the text. Finally, let's wrap things up with assessment and support tools. So having a rigorous lesson is great. But, as we all know, you absolutely have to have support for diverse learners, and grading shouldn't take you all weekend. Now, you get the standard worksheets, but you also get these brilliant scaffolded pages for kids who need just a little extra help. They provide these structured sentence frames and underlined prompts. So you might see a starter like, "This statement is backed, and it does not show good learning because." It gives them a scaffold for the formatting, sure, but notice how it keeps the actual heavy lifting, the cognitive load of judging the evidence, squarely on the student's shoulders. And then there's the grading rubric. This might be my favorite pedagogical selling point of the whole module. You are assessing your students purely on their reasoning and how they use evidence. You are definitely not grading them on whether they picked the quote-unquote right trip. If a student somehow builds a rock-solid, incredibly well-reasoned argument for the theme park, using specific text details, hey, they score high. The rubric looks at whether they quote checkable details, if they separate proof from opinion, and if they clearly reject the flashy, empty claims. It's all about the journey of their logic, not just the final destination. Oh, and for everyone needing to track their requirements, this entire 3-day arc just beautifully maps onto major Common Core ELA standards. You're hitting RI.4.1 and RI.4.8 on how authors use reasons and evidence, and doing that right alongside W4.1 for opinion writing, plus SL 4.1 for speaking and listening during those committee debates. It is such an efficient, highly targeted way to use your classroom time. Which brings us to the very last piece of the puzzle, the capstone reflection. At the end of the whole thing, the kids are asked one big question. Across the 3 days, how did you tell strong evidence from hype? This is where the magic happens. This is where it all clicks and the lesson solidifies in their brains. So I want to leave you with a similar thought today. Think about how absolutely vital this critical discernment skill is for your fourth graders, especially as they grow up in today's crazy media-heavy world. How are you going to help them catch those loud, empty claims? Next time they see a flashy headline or a giant exclamation point, will they just be swept away? Or will they stop and ask for the proof? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Now get out there and put their patience to the test.